Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kokona, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV Motocross National Champion, number 25, Cody Janssen.
What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm your host, Cody Janssen. This is episode 74 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, available for purchase and in stock today at shop.csttires.com. And if you're not yet chomping at the bit for the 2022 ATV Motocross season, you will be after this one. The 8th annual Daytona ATV Supercross inside the legendary confines of Daytona International Speedway is just around the corner, slated for Tuesday, March 8th, and in the episode ahead, we'll discuss all the happenings of ATV Motocross this season, break down everything we've learned over the course of the last few months, and get you up to date and ready for the exciting season of ATV Motocross ahead of us and year 2 of Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. So buckle up, because we're going to touch on every single projected pro rider, as well as the Pro Sport and WMX classes right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. This one was a lot of fun. But first, let's quickly shout out all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Lunderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, Fourworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Integrated Financial Concepts and their Safe to Race and Safe to Ride insurance programs, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Their clippers rock, their nose hair trimmer is amazing, and the brand new Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer is next level. Outside the industry, sponsors are hard to come by, so let's support Manscaped to make sure they stay involved with Digging Deep and ATV Motocross as a whole long into the future. I swear by the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, which includes the new Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer that I rant and rave about every week for help keeping my beard on point, the best nose hair trimmer ever created, and an array of goodies including deodorant, boxer briefs, a travel bag, and more. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner, and get 20% off with free shipping by using code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. And we're going to continue this promotion. If you DM us a screenshot of an order from Manscaped using our discount code, we'll send you a Digging Deep shirt or hat for free as well. Again, that code is DIGGINGDEEP20 for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Support all the great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. As we start to shift our focus to the 2022 season, we both know you need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end. And if you want to help us out, this is the perfect way to do so while purchasing the parts that you need. And did you know that you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC? Yep, shipped conveniently to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs this off season. We can't thank you enough for that. That Rocky Mountain ATVMC link is on the right side of our homepage at diggingdeepatvmx.com, and right underneath that, you'll find our new Amazon widget. So same concept. Before you buy from Amazon, simply go to our website, click that Amazon logo on the right side of our screen underneath Rocky Mountain, purchase whatever your heart desires, and we'll get a percentage of what you buy on the back end. We all shop from Amazon, so use our Amazon link to help us out while you buy. Digging Deep can't thank you enough for that. We have a couple donors to shout out this week. DBC Racing, thanks so much for your gracious donation to support us and bring you guys more episodes like this one. DBC posts all kinds of cool stuff on their social media pages. The last post that I saw was a clean TRX ready for a rip in the snow. Took me back to my youth. Loved spinning laps out in the snow for countless hours and hours on end. I love that. So loved seeing that post there. DBC Racing. Thank you guys so much. And also a shout out to our boy Justin Branham. Justin is a reoccurring donor. I don't have words to describe how thankful I am to Justin for his continued support. Our content is free to our listeners, and it always will be, but donations like these help us justify all the blood, sweat, tears, time, effort, and dollars that we continue to invest into this thing. So thanks so much again, guys. You freaking rock. And if you are interested in donating and hearing your name on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. And again, from the bottom of our hearts, thanks so much to all of you who have donated. We appreciate it beyond words. But now it's showtime. The 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Let's go. All right, guys, we've hammered out show after show this offseason, talking to legends of the sport and reliving past memories. And we have a few big names scheduled yet for this offseason, but I thought it was time with Daytona just over a month away and 2022 Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy signups now open to start getting excited for the 2022 ATV Motocross season. So brought to you by Manscaped and their Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer. Go to manscaped.com today to get 20% off plus free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Here to talk some current day ATV racing with me and break down some of the big news this off season from Impact Solutions. It's Mr. Casey Greek. What's up, Casey? Welcome back. It's been a minute.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Cody. It's been a minute. It's been some awesome shows though lately. I do a lot of driving, so it's been really good listens and exciting to hear some of the history and a lot of things even I didn't know. Didn't know a whole bunch about Cody, even though I was in the sport at the same time he was. There was a lot of details I didn't get to know, so it was awesome to hear that and excited to get into this one. And it was really exciting to hear from Cody. I know everyone really wanted it, so good times.
Yeah, we tried to make that one happen for a long time. I joked with him that I wasn't going to believe that it was actually happening until I saw him on the screen in front of me. So it lived up to the hype, though. That the numbers were huge. Some of the biggest stuff we ever did, the biggest first week, 1 week numbers we've ever done. So for anybody that hasn't listened to the Cody Gibson show, definitely go back and do that. But yeah, it was awesome. I learned a ton too. And man, he blew me away. Like, as much as he seemed like the exact same person as he was 10 years ago or whatever, when we last saw him, he was also like super, well-spoken and articulate. And I don't know. It was awesome. Awesome to hear that. Awesome to talk about, taking out half the Pro-Am field and not knowing what he was doing. He's like, I didn't know how to put that wheelie down, so it's crazy to think how good he was. Like, I think I spent the week or two, with my posts and stuff, because not everybody was around 10 years ago. People come and go from the sport, obviously, and to try to tell people how great of a Pro-Am rider he was, it's actually like hard to put into words, because I don't know that, and I said this to him, but I don't know that we ever saw anybody dominate the way he did. It was incredible.
Yeah, especially I really watched him that year in 2012 when he come back and rode for Mikey on the Walsh Hybrid.
Yeah,
and I was pretty tight with Casey Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I remember correctly, the moto that Casey beat Cody that year is like one of the only motos he lost.
Yeah.
The guy that Casey had working for him couldn't come that weekend, and I ended up wrenching for him on Sunday. I was working for Natalia at the time, and I ended up pitboarding for him. And like, Casey was such a good time, and Cody was always fun. And so like, there was nothing serious about it. Like, we joked around and drew pictures on pit boards and stuff and just had a blast. But if I remember, that's what it was, or he was leading, maybe Cody ended up getting him. I just can't remember and pinpoint it, but I can't remember exactly what race it was.
It was Redbud. It was Redbud, right? I swear it was.
I think it was Redbud, but I want to say I helped Casey at Walnut, though.
Okay. Well,
and when I was listening to the show, I went up and I looked at results, and then I still couldn't put it together. So
okay.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So in one of the classes, I think it was production. he had an undefeated overall season. He had a couple motos that he didn't win or whatever. Casey was definitely the second best guy that year. I said that on the show. And I said that on social media too, being in that class at the time, like Casey was almost in a class of his own as well. I feel like, but yeah, he's such a great dude too. The showing up at the first race. I just saw a picture or a video. Cody's in first, Casey's in second, I'm in third, and Casey's got no graphics on his bike, whatever. And then he ends up having the me, like the Talladega Nice reference, just awesome. Like those are such great times, such great memories. Like that was such an awesome time for the sport too. I'm sure you think back to those years too, like just such an awesome time. Like you were working, like you said, Factory Can-Am at the time. But yeah, just such a great era. So I love like talking to these guys from the past, and it's almost like for that period of time during the conversation, you take yourself right back to where you were, during those years. And that's a fun thing to do, fun memories to relive for all of us, I think.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think something for everyone that has listened, or, the people that haven't, that need to listen. One of the things that hit home with me, kind of more on like a serious note, but still, the same Cody Gibson, was the mental game. When he rode for Mikey, his mental game was so good. And then when he went away from Mikey for that year or two or whatever it was, like he said, his mental game went away. He got hurt and he had these issues and stuff. And then when he came back and he rode for Mike, like he's like, my mental game was just back and it didn't matter. I just knew I was going to win. And I've really brewed and like stewed on that over the last couple of weeks. And it's something that I've been talking to a couple of my riders about and trying to get their heads right and make sure, because there's some guys out there, like Dane kind of reminds me of that. Mm-hmm. Like Dane's head game is so strong, and that's why he can go from, the A class into pro sport and be competitive instantly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is he believed when he went to that line that he belonged there and he could win. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really cool to see, how important that is. So like, we hear dirt bike guys talk about it. Oh, I got a mental coach, and like you almost giggle at times, but it's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. The mental game is so much of it. And you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, Cody Gibson was cut different. From day one, he was trying to almost like make a mockery of everybody. And that stood out to me too. And just to relive some of those memories. And like we've seen so many great guys. We've seen great guys come up through the, the ranks and race in the Pro-Am class and kind of, become stars overnight and stuff like that. And I just kept sitting there thinking about who reminded me of Cody Gibson, because again, we've had guys dominate the class. We watched Bryce Ford dominate, Pro-Am a couple years ago. And I just don't know that anybody reminds me of the way Cody did it to that level. And maybe it's just because, remembering, things always become glorified over time. But with Cody, I truly don't think that that's the case. I think that he was that standout for those years, nearly 40 overall wins in 3 seasons, like it's unreal. And it's incredible, really. And the thing that also stood out to me, because I think some of the reason why Cody didn't want to sit down with me for the longest time, and he said like he doesn't like talking about himself, didn't want anybody to think he was stuck up or full of himself or anything like that. But the other thing was he didn't think that his story was worth telling. And not only did he do an incredible job, he's a legit legend. It doesn't matter if he made it in the pro class or not. And he was able to tell us why, which I think was lost over time as well. But he also showed, and I said this to him, but I kind of want to double down on it while we're talking about it, because he showed that like, you don't have to come from, a bunch of money or racing, for however many years as a youth rider or whatever. It was like, as soon as he got, had the opportunity to go to the races, got to the races, he was going to make it because that's what he wanted to do. And I just thought it was there's so many people that say, well, I'll never get a chance to go to the races. I'll never, look at other people that have that opportunity or whatever. And I don't know, Cody just wanted it bad enough. And he found his opportunity that way. And I just thought like that, even just that, like, it wouldn't even matter how he did, but he went on to be an amazing racer. But that aspect of his story alone is worth telling because he wanted it bad enough. And it's like he just spoke it into existence and made the most of his opportunities. And that part is incredible. So it's like, no matter what, you can make it happen. Like one way or another, you can make it happen. And I thought that his story embodied that really well.
Yeah. And I've listened to, I listened to Whiskey Throttle, and I actually listened to Pastrana's show this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing. Like they third mortgage on their house, like everything they can to get to the races. And then he backflips into the ocean and loses any money that they made from, that competition that weekend, loses all the purse money, has a fine.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everyone probably thought he was rich already at that time, but he was still like, they were dead broke. Mm-hmm. Like his dad's like, well, what's last place pay? $1,000. Okay, we'll have fuel money to get back to Maryland. So, and that's kind of like Cody's story, their bikes getting stolen and, the wheel spacers, and it's just cool. And, but even like listening to, I've been wanting to do this, so we're probably going to eat up our time here. I've been into the podcast stuff so much lately.
Yeah.
And like listening to Shane's story, and kind of where, how he came from it. And he didn't want to go train all the time, but he just wanted to go ride.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care if I was in the woods. I didn't care if I was on a flat track. I didn't care if it was a motocross track.
Yeah.
And Corey Ellis' story, the evolution for Yamaha, and so much stuff is cool. I think, I'm sure you're probably already on top of it, but I think Tim Farr is going to be a really good show whenever you get that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It just hearing those guys' stories is what made this sport what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, stories like Cody's, and, one day we're going to be able to talk about stories of Joel and Chad and their legacy that lives on. So it's awesome.
I'm proud of what we're doing at Digging Deep because some of those legacies and stories and stuff should be able to live on, and stand the test of time basically, because otherwise, like Cody Gibson's story was fading, was fading hard.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen him in a decade. Right. And now it's out there, and his recognition is as high as it's been in the last 10 years, probably. And that's going to remain because people will be able to, to enjoy that over and over again. But So Timmy Farr is one of the guys that we definitely, want to get on soon. We're working with Mark Baldwin to pull off something like that soon. So people should, stay on the lookout for that. Dana as well. Dana's been working on some stuff behind the scenes, and we're going to get him on ASAP. And so it should be exciting. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, but Casey, let's talk about you a little bit. So how are things at Impact Solutions? This has to be about the busiest time of year for you guys, I would bet. So how are things there?
Yeah, it's awesome. We're wide open. I mean, the guys are just killing it. I sat in front of the computer. We worked all day, getting shocks out, getting the trailer ready. It's time to start getting some testing in and getting a lot of things going. So, we're just wide open. And then, it comes down to last minute, I'm building shocks, doing this. And then I'm like, oh man, I got all these orders I need to put in. I need to get parts so we can keep shocks moving. So I sat there until about midnight last night, just putting in orders and different things just to get stuff done. It's the only time I can get away from being on the phone or whatever I'm doing, but the shop's cranking, the guys are good. I think we're going to have some pretty big news here soon. With a couple of different things, and we're just trying to evolve and keep pushing the envelope and try to make things better for everyone, and try to stay a step ahead and trying. So I'm excited to get down next week and get some testing in. Looks like I'll get to test with Joel, Jeffrey, Logan's there. It's gonna be a good week.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think like Impact Solutions, it's almost like you guys grow, seems like exponentially every year, to where each season you're just becoming bigger and bigger and more trusted. And it's like, you guys are the guys, especially at ATV Motocross events, but you guys are the guys that everybody's going to for suspension tuning and trusting you for all their suspension needs. So it makes sense. And obviously I've been an Impact Solutions guy forever. I can't wait to get some new Elkas mounted up on my YFZ 450Rs. So stoked about that. But thankfully I don't need to be ready for Daytona, because I don't think I could pull that off with all the difficulty it is to get parts, and parts availability being such a tough deal right now. But what I do want to go over, Casey, we should get into some of the current racing talk that we had planned for today. I want to go over some of the biggest stories of this off season, some of the biggest storylines that we have kind of coming into Daytona as Daytona nears. And I want to tell our listeners, basically everything we know about the riders and topics and stories involving each rider as we go down the list, starting with none other than the reigning, defending, undisputed, and back-to-back 8-time ATV Motocross national champion, Chad Wienen. We know Chad signed a 2-year extension with Yamaha this offseason, so Chad's going to be back, presumably with a program that's nearly identical to what we've, known him to be on in the past year. And until determined otherwise, he's got to be the man to beat, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't take anything from Chet. I mean, look at, everything the guy's accomplished and how solid he is. And it seems like he almost gets better as time goes on, and he continues to keep pushing and raising the bar. And, him and Joel, both of these guys, I mean, their speeds are just incredible. And, for him to sign another 2-year deal, that means we get another 2 years at least of Chad. And that's a good thing for the sport. Yamaha signing a contract with anyone is a good thing for the sport. It's really good for all of us, and this, like, the sport in general. I mean, I basically just wrote down, like, it's good for the sport. It's, obviously it's good for Chad.
Yeah, of course.
Though my outlook on it is they're signing contracts with guys, and it's not just for one season. It's a 2-year deal. It's an extension of something that he's already had. So the competition to have Chad still racing and being as competitive as he is, and, right there winning races and battling with Joe all the time, that's good for both of those guys. I mean, if it wasn't for that, it might be a little dry at times, so it's going to be good. And I think, we obviously have some kids coming through that are going to add some spice to that fire.
Oh, for sure. That's what stands out to me, Casey. I'm glad that you hit on that, because earlier this offseason, when he announced that he signed this 2-year extension, and obviously we shared it on the Digging Deep stuff, and you had people commenting like, well, who else would he sign with or whatever? And I'm thinking that's beyond the point. It's the fact that he signed, for 2 more years. So presumably he's going to be around for that time. And that means Yamaha is going to be involved for 2 more years. Like I just, that's the part that stood out to me, but you always got the Debbie Downers of social media. But speaking of Yamaha, the number one OEM supporter of ATV racing announced their full lineup of side-by-sides and sport ATVs earlier this week, kind of putting to bed all the doomsday narratives. Speaking of Debbie Downers, I was seeing plenty of doomsday narratives the last couple of weeks, saying that Yamaha wasn't going to produce a sport quad anymore and blah, blah, blah. That couldn't be any further from the truth. So, get out to your local Yamaha dealer and join me in making the switch to the industry leader, the YFZ 450R for the 2022 season. So I'm glad we were able to touch on the Yamaha stuff there. I think that's a key thing, that Yamaha is going to continue to produce these quads and continue to support the sport. And you have people that are like, the bold new graphics is always the joke, right? But the fact that they're putting out a new quad, like I was seeing yesterday as we announced the news that they're, announced this new lineup for the 2022 season, the 2022 models. And I'm like, I hate to say it, but why are we bitching? They're putting out new quads, and you got people on there that are like, the quad hasn't changed in 10 years or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's not true. For one, it's got a slipper clutch now. I mean, the quad continues to get better, but again, we have Yamaha producing a sport quad. So why, can't we just focus on how awesome that is? And they're signing Chad to deals, and they got, all these, there's more and more riders, running Yamahas, and Yamaha cares enough about our sport they're supporting our show here. I've said this so many times, but man, let's just appreciate that Yamaha is here. Like that's what we should be focusing on, I guess. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And the fact that you can walk into a dealership and buy one.
Exactly.
You don't have to buy a used, clapped out machine and try to refurb it all. You can walk in and buy a brand new one and build it. So, hats off to those guys. I've been saying it for a long time, and I think I've said it on the show before, but I've been saying it for a long time. Like, I really like the Yamaha, and I think, the Honda, a lot of guys stuck with it for a long time because it wasn't as scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're
Because
exactly
when you
right.
go to the YFZR, fuel injection and all this stuff. But man, that stuff's evolved so far now.
Mm-hmm.
We have programmers. There's guys at the races. I know, like Tim Detling always has his computer there. Mark
Mm-hmm.
Baldwin's got his there. Like they can help you with that stuff in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
Where you could spend all day jetting a carbureted bike, and it could have been the stator,
Right.
or
Right.
just like silly things, or your leak jet fell out and you never thought to take the injector cover off or anything. So it's oh man,
yeah. Well, and the one
happy
exactly
we have this.
Exactly. One of the things that we touched on with Jeffrey is the reliability thing. And that was, one of the, despite my relationship with Yamaha, with Digging Deep, like one of the biggest things was I knew Yamaha was going to up my reliability with my machines. And, you take the Hondas, and where you're tweaking on the machine is the engine. Like that's all you can really tweak on a Honda. And on the Yamaha, you don't have to have the thing tweaked to the moon because you're making more power with your ECU or your fuel pump or whatever, name, the electronics. And I think that that's one of the additional aspects that make them so much more reliable is you're not tweaking them to the nth degree, with your motor setup. And I think that that's a great selling point for the Yamaha as a race machine as well. Not only like a perfect, put a million hours on a trail machine or practice machine, but the race machine too. I do believe that they're more durable and more reliable. I think that that's proven.
Well, and the fact that the transmission looks like it came out of a diesel truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the transmission gears on the thing's incredible. I remember when Chad first got on it back in 2012, and Ryan Cox and myself were good friends, and I'm like, how is that? Ryan's obviously a well-renowned engine builder and done amazing things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is it? He's like, you don't have to worry about transmissions. He's like, the thing is stout. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it's good to know that stuff. And then obviously I've learned a lot more about the machine as you're learning a lot more about it now too.
Yeah.
And it is reliable. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Exciting. It's all the Yamaha stuff is exciting to me. It's all new to me, but the more I learn, the more I like the machine. Casey, I forgot to ask you, did you have a Impact Solutions impact moment for this week? I hate to spring it on you right now, but we highlight, good and positive things happening in ATV racing. Can you think of anything over the course of the last weeks or months, anything cool you want to highlight here?
I think it's just kind of everything in general for the most part. I mean, obviously
everything we just touched on probably.
Yeah, a lot of that. We all know it's hard to get parts right now. Mm-hmm. It's hard for all of us to get parts. It's not just the consumer; it's us as vendors.
Oh, it's the supply.
Struggle
yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so people are starting to catch the new norm, which is it's an unfortunate new norm for all of us. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing some relief in the people, because before, 4 or 5 months ago, when everyone still thought they could call up and have a set of shocks the next day,
right?
I'm like, dude, that's not how it works anymore. Like production's at max, and so we're pushing as hard as we can to get it there. And then once we get them, we got to do our thing to them, and then we got to get them to you. It's a longer process than what it was before. So there's a positive there. I think the buzz through the industry is really positive right now. I think we're going to have incredible. Daytona's going to be insane.
I agree.
And we're gonna speak about Pro Am and Pro Sport and stuff here in a little bit. Pro Class, I think, is going to be really good. Pro Am's going to be or Pro Sport's going to be really good. WMX is going to be really good. But the vibe's hot right now. There's a lot of people getting ready, and I mean, since I've been on here with you, let's call it 25 minutes or so, my phone's just I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be in the doghouse when I get off of here. So
no, well, yeah, we're talking about those guys, so they're benefiting from what we're doing as well. But okay, so next up on our list here, getting back to the racers of the AMA ATV Pro Class right now, is Joel Hetrick. We know you work closely with that Phoenix Racing program. Casey, what can you tell us about Joel's off season so far? We know he's pounding laps at Deckers, but what more can you tell us?
I mean, it's kind of the social media kind of ruins this part of it for us in a sense, because you kind of get to see. Yeah, I haven't got to spend any time with Joel. I'm obviously going to spend some time with him next week. So I might have a little bit more insight after next week. But from what I can see, and obviously I've talked to him quite a bit, man, he's in a really good place. His head's right. He's having a good time down there at Deckers. Every time I talk to him, he's like, man, it's just so cool. He's like, I just walk out of my motor and walk right over to the gym. If we need to do laundry, we'll walk over and do laundry. Like it's just that's going to put his head in like a really good place. And not that he didn't really have the same features at Jeffries, but he doesn't have to like drive anywhere to go ride or do that stuff. So it's saving him a little bit of time, allowing him to do some more, training off the machine stuff, I think. And then just with him moving to North Carolina and being closer to the race shop when he was preparing to get ready to go down south, to go to Florida and start training, I think that eased some of it. And the easier you can make it, and it's something that I've seen Chad do for years, is Chad's made it so easy. He's got a nice place down in Florida. He can go do his thing. He's got a perfect setup when he's home. He's got all the comforts of the world. The kids are happy. Everyone's good. He rides right out of his garage, right into his beautiful track that he's got there. So moral of it is I really think Joel's head's in the right place.
Good. And
he's made decisions to put himself into that position.
Yeah, which is great to hear because we discussed on these shows last year. And Joel basically said as much to us that there was a lot going on behind the scenes last year, dealing with life stuff and whatever. So to kind of simplify everything. And that's a big thing. That's a big selling point on Deckers, right? Because the years that I lived down there, like staying at Waldo or staying at Orlando or whatever, like that was the track, but I had to do a lot of traveling. Like I probably drove an hour a day to go to the gym, and all of that stuff is not only time consuming, it's expensive. Like you lose big portions of your day that way. And the other thing about Deckers is there's no way to be at Deckers and not know where you stack up because everybody's there. Every single person is there. Like I reached out to a bunch of riders that we'll get into as we go on the list here over the last couple days, just wanting to know what their program was like or whatever. And every one of them brought up Deckers, so, so that's the place to be. There's no doubt. I mean, they literally have the market cornered for ATV motocross. Definitely.
Well, and they, they're emphasizing on ATV motocross.
Exactly.
There's a couple tracks up here in North Carolina that are doing some stuff, they allow quads and stuff and they want quads there, which is cool. Max and Michael Allred are getting ready to do a riding school.
Yeah, I saw that.
A motocross track here in North Carolina, which is really cool. But I mean, other than that, I mean, Deckers got it covered. And I think the sport, us riders, everyone needs to support that, and utilize what is given to us in that sense of having a place that says, yeah, come on. We got all the hookups in the world you need, we're going to take care of you. I was talking to my buddy, Tommy Lombardo, and he went down there for a week. And he's like, man, they got like a cook there. There's a, bonfire every night. It's always something cool and fun to do. Yeah. So it's really good. And, thank you to them for going out on a limb and doing this. And, thank you to the consumers and the riders that are going for supporting it.
Absolutely. I think that, former partner of ours, but we've said it since then too, that, you need to, the ATV community needs to continue to support them for being an ATV friendly place, like you said. So that's awesome. So we touched on, Chad Wienen and Joel Hetrick there. Those two guys will be the two riders to choose from in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy at Daytona. And yes, the first and only ATV Fantasy League is back for season 2 as you compete for bragging rights and both weekly and season-ending prize opportunities while showing ATV motocross better than the rest of us. Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy was such a major hit last year. I can't even begin to describe, I think, how much excitement it created and buzz and attention and everything at the races as well. So by the time that this episode goes live, sign up for ATV Fantasy will be open. So head over to atvfantasy.com today. And the best part of fantasy is it added no stress to Casey Greek's life. Right, Casey?
Oh, none at all. So it added so least amount of stress that I didn't play Pulp Supercross Fantasy this year. So I could save my money because I figured out a way that I'm going to win the Digging Deep Fantasy next year. Is I'm going to sign up with like 3 different accounts.
Oh, there you go.
So I can pick and I shouldn't be telling everyone my secrets, but you don't want to follow me in because I'm terrible. But
oh my gosh.
I'm going to finish first, second, and third.
Okay. That's I
saved my money.
So I play like fantasy football, like the daily stuff. And I used to do that. I used to have like 2 or 3 different teams, and you bet a couple bucks on each one. But I realized that typically if you have multiple teams, you still lose. So I don't know if that's how it works in ATV fantasy or not, but yeah, we'll see how that all works out. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. Welcome to the team, 2-time champ Joel Hetrick, who dropped the biggest news of the offseason when he announced his move to CST Tires. The CST takeover has been gaining momentum over the past several seasons, and now Joel Hetrick and his Phoenix Racing teammate Jeffrey Rastrelli are the most recent additions. The Pulse MXR tire has helped lead riders like Thomas Brown to race wins and 3 consecutive Quad Cross of Nations titles, Nick Genusa to the Pro Class podium, myself Cody Janssen as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to back-to-back national championships in the Junior 25 Plus class, and the most recent additions have us thinking a Pro Class national championship is on the horizon for CST tires. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Genusa, myself, and so many others are believers in CST tires. Are you? CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. You already know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Whether it's second all-time winningest, 7-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, or 6-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFC 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This unprecedented success for the YFC 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undeniable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has created a Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Better yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and even stronger for 2021, meaning Yamaha riders are about to cash in on higher payouts and more prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV Motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV Motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time NHRA World Champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship-level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship-winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Numera Technologies. Since 2001, Numera has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Nomura's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Nomura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.nomura.com. Nomura Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits. Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high-quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
So our next tier of riders features a couple riders making major changes to their program and a couple riders kind of sticking to similar programs to last year in 2021, starting with Bryce Ford. So he was third in points last year. He's back with a similar program, a similar, deal to last year, I would assume. And he's probably the favorite for that third spot until, determined otherwise, Casey.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a dicey race there. I think Bryce is going to be more mature, with another year under his belt, and, his physical game is going to be spot on, and he's going to be very competitive. I think he's going to be one that can get up there and kind of drive a wedge in here with Chad and Joel. And then there's guys that are obviously thinking, no way, like I got him beat. I'm going to be right there with him. And I think that's what's going to end up tightening up this top five is these guys evolving. So I look for pretty big things out of Bryce. I think it's going to be a banner year for him in the sense of it goes back to kind of this, talking about Cody Gibson and the mental thing. I think his head is going to be the biggest key to him this year and his success.
Sure. Yeah, I think that we saw him kind of get away from the ATV stuff this offseason. He's done a lot of two-wheel riding and stuff like that. And I think that maybe that break is a good thing, like it's good to get away sometimes. So he's been out there, racing motocross on the two-wheel side of things, which I think is good. But yeah, he's one of those guys that's going to be fun to watch. And that tier 2 group, that kind of second tier of podium contender guys was the most intriguing group of riders to watch last season. And I assume that that's going to be true again in 2022, mostly because, like I said, you got guys that are doing the same thing as last year, and you got guys making major changes in that, change up. It's going to be fun to see how that all, stacks up. Especially like this next guy we're looking at, Jeffrey Rastrelli. He's got major changes coming to his program as he announced his move from Phoenix Racing to Rastrelli Racing for 2022. He announced it right here on Digging Deep earlier this month. And you were a big part of that, Casey. You were a big part of that decision. You were a big part of his program in the past, obviously, and you're going to be a big part of his program going forward. And I think that that's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting for Jeffrey to do something different, but he's a guy that's, making major changes, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. And I think with Jeffrey, I mean, we had talked, back, I don't know, September, October, November, maybe whenever it was when, we kind of he made this decision, and he just kind of looked at, he called me. He's like, I'm not calling you because you're a sponsor or any of this stuff. He's like, you're a friend of mine. And, you're going to tell me straight. And I'm like, well, do you want to go racing? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, have you talked with Phoenix, blah, blah, blah. So he went through kind of all that stuff. And I said, Jeffrey, you're going to have to make a decision here to bet on yourself. And, whether, if you do end up getting a deal with Phoenix, then good, great. But if you don't, you need to start putting a backup plan in place, and if something comes through somewhere else or whatever, then you have to make that conscious decision when it comes time. And that's why I think the release of, him starting his own program was as late as it was, because this was, in the works relatively early in the off season. But I think for Jeffrey, if you look back, I think I seen someone posted a picture on Joel's birthday, and Jeffrey was in it, and he was on JB's team then. And since Jeffrey's been on big bikes, he's been on a team. Like, he rode for JB, he rode for Baldwin, he's been on Phoenix. He's never had to do it as a Rastrelli racing thing. So what I think this is going to be for Jeffrey, not that Jeffrey's never put 100% in, like, he's always put 100% in. You can see it in his emotions, like that he's all in. So, but it's a different all in. He's literally all in. Like, every dime he's got, everything he can is going all into this program now. So it's a full bet on himself. And I think it's going to benefit him. I truly believe it's going to benefit him. It could go two different ways. And, you know, I'll always play devil's advocate. It could go the other way where the pressure is too much or whatever, but Jeffrey's not a pressure guy. Like, he's fine under pressure. He's a veteran of the sport. This is going to benefit him. Not that all those legendary and fantastic programs were bad for him, but it's a big change in how he's doing things. There's no one to go, well, I didn't get this, or, you know, it didn't happen, because there's certain things at times on teams. I've been on factory teams. You can't always just go out and use whatever you want to use. You know, you have to use what the team uses. That's why we all have contracts with riders and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a bad thing for the team. That's just what we have to do. Well, right now, he's picking and choosing. So if there's something he don't like at the end of the day, the only person he can blame is himself. And when it gets to that, we watched Chad Reed do it. You know, and if you think about where Jeffrey was in his career and where Chad was in his career when he doubled down on himself, you know, Jeffrey obviously had a good year last year, but not the year before or the year before that. So when you double down on yourself, all of a sudden you get a resurgence. So that's what I look for from Jeffrey.
Yeah, I think so too. I said to Jeffrey on the podcast that we recorded there that, like, I think you take more ownership of everything that you're doing. Your hands are on every aspect of it. And I think that that's going to have a positive effect for him. Like, even with my own program, even like, you know, years ago, taking the reins from my dad, you know, running basically my little race program and then doing it all myself. Even that for me was like, you know, not that I wasn't all in prior to that, but it was like, you just care a little more because you're seeing everything that goes into it, you know, like Jeffrey said, you know, he's spending all the money to make this happen. So the way for people to go out there and support Jeffrey is to support Rastrelli Racing and buy some of your parts from there and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be good. I was going to ask you, you know, if we should expect a similar Jeffrey to last year, if we should expect a better, you know, maybe even, you know, I hate to say it, but a worse Jeffrey now that he's on his own. But I think that we're in agreement that he's going to be better. I truly believe, and he had a great season last year, but I think the potential is there to have a better season. And we know he's on good equipment. You know, that Yamaha looks like he's running Baldwin engines. I know Rocket Machining and Design. I mean, everything they do is great. You know, they're meticulous, and you can look at those bikes. They look amazing. So I think that there's good things in store. I'll put it that way. Good things in store for Jeffrey this 2022 season. And for people that haven't listened, go back and listen to episode 72 because he goes over it all. And you could hear the excitement in his voice. I'm assuming you got that same thing from that, Casey.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I listened to that show, and, you know, I talk to Jeffrey almost daily. And, you know, every day it's something, and he's turned into this like little social media darling.
I know.
Now. You know, he's not been quiet social media guy, but like now he's doing like Instagram lives and stuff like that. And I think that's awesome. I mean, that's a huge deal. I mean, you know, being able to present yourself and being media savvy is huge in this sport.
Yes, it is.
That's kind of how you have evolved. Like, you know what I mean? Like, honestly, you've just killed it. And I explain that to people a lot of times. I'm like, you sit back and look at the guys that are, you know, doing things, and a lot of it is from social media and different things like that. And, you know, me and Jeffrey touched on that stuff back then. And this is weird to say, but I sat back and did the math the other day, and this year is my 25th year in racing as a profession.
Okay.
And so I don't know that a lot of people know that, or they do, or I don't know, but I've been doing this for the greater part of my life as a profession. And so when you do it from a professional side and you do this stuff, like you pay attention to things and then you kind of start to learn, at some point, I hope I learned something over all these years. And so when I get someone like Jeffrey that I really care for, and I've been a big part of his program and, trying to help him over the years, when he calls, I try to give him hard facts. Like, here it is, black or white. And that's what he did. He bet on himself. And I think it's awesome.
And he wants to, he's a listener. He wants to listen, and I think that's a great, that's a great trait that people need to pick up on too. Talking about another guy that you're working with, I believe, Nick Genusa. He's coming back on a similar ride as last year. I'm sure you began working with Nick a little bit last year. Is he continuing to work with you? Are you part of that program for 2022 as well?
Yeah, definitely. Helping Nick, working with him.
Good.
He's awesome. He's really easy to work with.
Yeah.
He don't blow me up constantly. I don't have to talk to him every single day. Like, he just knows we're good. I know we're good. Mm-hmm. He's sticking to pretty much the same program. I mean, his programs have a little different look this year. Okay. And I think you'll probably end up talking to him before the season starts or something. But he's went through a few hardships this winter. His dad had a pretty bad stroke, and so that's going to be the biggest difference in his program. He's probably not going to have the big rig and stuff like that. He's going to downscale how he gets to the races. But I think he's going to work with Tim Detling and the TDR crew a little tighter this year. Good. Which I think is going to be a good solid point for Nick's program. Tim's been doing his engines for 3 years now, I think.
Yeah, for a while.
And,
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's not new to him, but being more involved with that program is going to be a big deal for Nick and for Tim.
Good.
So, and I got a lot to do over at the TDR rig. So it'd be nice to have Nick real close by, so I can always keep an eye on him and keep checked up with him. So I expect, Nick was killer last year at Daytona.
Yeah, he was.
And, bar a couple little issues, man, he was right there in the points with Jeffrey and Bryce. And, until Wesley got hurt for that third running position and Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that most people like Nick. He's such a competitor. Like, I feel like he's uber competitive. So as a guy that raced against him for a lot of years, I didn't know where I stood with him or how I felt about him or whatever. But I'll tell you, in all of our dealings since starting Digging Deep, he's the most grateful guy, and he's awesome. I pull for him because he's just such a likable dude. He's awesome. Like you said, you hit that nail on the head. So Nick grabbed. Go ahead.
He's done a bunch of growing up, since 2017, 18. Sure. I mean, I have never really worked with him. Mm-hmm. I've talked to him and been around him and stuff, but I've been around some of the, different stuff over the years, and man, that kid has changed. He's really turned it into a business and a profession as he's gotten older. So super proud of him.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that's the way it has to be done. That's the way it has to be done at the highest level. And that's the conversation you had with Jeffrey. But there's no feasible way to do this if you're doing it, your own program, unless you run it like a business. So that's awesome. So Nick grabbed 2 podiums last season. So at the opener, like you said, at Daytona, and then at the finale. Over under 2 podiums in 2022 for Nick Genusa. Are you taking more or less, Casey?
Ooh, man,
I'll tell you, I'm telling you, I'll go more.
I think more. I
know it's going to be tough, because that's going to be so competitive. I guess the way that I justify saying it is, who knows how strong Max comes into the year, and we're going to touch on him, but we know that he's dealing with, some injury stuff this off season. And then another guy we're going to touch on. So I hate to throw it out there right now, but with Wesley being gone for the season as well, who knows what it's like at the beginning of the year.
Is that official? Well, is that official with Wesley?
Well, that's what he announced a couple months ago.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. He announced that he's gone. So you take, maybe Max, I think it's safe to say he's not going to be at 100% at the beginning of the year. And then with Wesley being gone, I think it's an easy bet. That's the bet I would take, is Nick Genusa gets, more than 2 this year. 'Cause he was great last year. He was great.
Yeah, no, he rode really well. His results just didn't always show it. in the
Agreed.
sense, but I think overall his riding last year was really good. And, but I expect Jeffrey to get more podiums. I expect Bryce to get more podiums.
I know.
But that's where I breathe so heavy on this. I'm like, how do you you just over and over put your foot in your mouth in the sense of when you talk about this, it's, we play silly games on Facebook. Travis posted something. He's like, top 5, who's your picks? And I put like 3 picks in.
I know.
I'm like, how do you, there was 10 guys.
Yeah.
Like the top 10 had all won a championship at some point. And it's kind of where we're at with, with Nick, Jeffrey, Bryce, Hoag, all those guys, like they've all been on the podium a good amount of times, and they're very capable of continuing doing it. Max, that's all right there. But with Max having an injury, man, it's crazy. I'm excited.
It's
going to
be
Daytona time yet?
Yeah, I think everybody listening is probably getting excited too about Daytona right now. But I think that with Nick, you're getting a super consistent rider, and I think that that's probably what makes him a safe bet. But next up is another guy making major changes like Jeffrey, Brandon Hoag, who is now riding for the Music Racing and Repair team. We heard all about it from those guys when they came on the podcast here. I know you hated to lose Brandon, obviously, with Impact Solutions, but I'm excited to see what this effort is going to look like for those guys. Casey, I think it's actually going to be a good thing for Brandon. I think he's another guy, you could hear the excitement in his voice. I think that he sensed he needed a change. And, those bikes, like we know from watching Brett over the years, like the bikes are good. So I think that even maybe just that change, Brandon said he needed it. And I think that I have this feeling that Brandon's going to come out swinging. So what are your thoughts on Brandon Hoag?
Yeah, I think it's great to have another insert into the pro class with another team. Hats off to Brett for stepping up like that. Not 100% happy with how the release, when Brandon came out and said, oh, I'm not going to be with Tim and stuff. None of that set real well. I wasn't even aware that was gonna that he was gonna release that.
Okay.
I have shocks sitting on the table right now or on the rack that say Brandon Hoag on them.
Okay.
I'm not salty about him switching or moving over to Brett's program. I think that's awesome. And like I said, hats off to Brett. I'm excited for Brandon because we've seen what a change of scenery does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Justin Barsha, and I hate to keep reflecting back to dirt bike stuff, but it's relevant.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
It's so relevant. And, and it's another thing. I think, Tim and I are always going to look at Brandon like a little brother.
Yeah.
And either one of us would always jump in and help with anything we could, even if he's not on our programs, that type of thing. We're going to help him. And, I'm excited to see where it lands. I think, I've talked to a couple of people that have been down and they say Brandon looks good. He's riding well. And, we know he's going to train. We know he's going to be fit. And that's a big thing. So I'm excited to see where he lands.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to be on a Honda too. I think that he made that pretty clear. I think you could read between the lines as well, but yeah, talking about the release of info. I found myself in a dumpster fire there with the graphics deal.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh, that was a mess. And honestly, when I did it, I didn't even think twice, and that was on me. But I didn't even think twice. Being a SSI sponsored show, I just didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't trying to steal anybody's work or anything like that. I just didn't feel comfortable posting something with a bunch of big FTR logos on it. The FTR logos were all over the graphics. So at the time, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Obviously, there was some major backlash. I realized I was going to have to do something because I didn't want anybody to think I purposely did anything wrong. It was a mistake on my part. But that's why I issued the apology. I reached out to Ernie, all those. I asked him what we could do to make it right. I did everything I needed to do. But yeah, that I found myself in a complete whirlwind mess at that point. And so talk about the release of things. That was not ideal for me. Thankfully, everything has died down since then. I hope with the way I reacted and handled it and issued a public apology and reposted it with the logos and all that stuff. I hope that everybody, knows by now that like I did everything I could do, didn't mean anything bad by it. I really was just trying to do right by Ian and SSI at the beginning. Like that's where the original concern came from for me. Yeah, that was not good. Like as we released this, we released the episode and all these things. And, I was just glad to, spread the news of this new team and new opportunity for Brandon and all these things. And next thing I know, I'm getting death threats and, told that I'm trying to steal people's work and whatever. So, yeah, that was not ideal for me, Casey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million.
And I get it. I get it. I hate to interrupt, but I get it if somebody thought I was trying to do something purposefully wrong towards FTR, but that was
malicious.
And that was just, it was simply not the case. And I understand why people could take it the wrong way if they didn't know the context of us being SSI show and all that stuff. But people
don't understand contracts. The general public don't understand, like, you're under contracts with certain sponsors and stuff like that. And Ian's super cool. So
Ian wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You just more or less overthought it and we're like, oh man,
I did.
There's 1,000 ways you could write that book. You handled it. You apologized. You and I have spoke about it off there. You spoke with Ernie. You got it cleared up. It is what it is.
Yeah. It was.
I invite any one of the naysayers, or God forbid, someone actually sending death threats over Facebook posts. But hey, we've seen worse. I give any one of them full reign. Come in and try to be 100% politically correct over and over again with every single thing. And I mean, you're up to like 7 or 8 posts a week, if not more. I'm lucky to get one post out a month at times, and it takes me half a day to write the stupid thing.
Right.
So just, and because you have to nail all these points. And here's another one. I got not like serious backlash, but Brandon wasn't happy with me when I said he was overtrained last year. I mean, he literally, you sent me a screenshot of his post where he like hashtag not overtrained. And I called Brandon out instant, and he came right back at me like, no, dude, I'm not overtrained. I'm just not getting a ride, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. I still feel this way. No big deal. We're good.
Yeah.
All good. But yeah, I mean, as sort of, public figure, dude, you can't always be right. You're going to make a mistake. And anyone that thinks they can, I invite them. Come over to the studio and get in here and, get in there and try to actually play this and do it right.
Well, and the other thing was like, Ernie's done a ton for the sport. He's supported the sport and supported riders.
Ernie's
and that's
a great guy.
And that was the other thing that I didn't want people to think like I was discrediting that, because I appreciate like we've interacted for stuff over the years, and he's helped me with stuff and whatever. So it was nothing personal. But when you talked about the release of info there, that was not ideal for me. That was like the darkest days of Digging Deep, I would think, in our 2.5 years of existence here, because I'm like, man, I try so hard to do things for the sport, and it was like I was enemy number one for those couple days, but hopefully I've walked it back some. Yeah, you're not going to please everybody. There was no bad intentions there. That was the moral of the story. Yeah. But so last of our tier 2 riders here, getting back to the racing. Tier 2 riders are riders, we consider to basically be podium contenders, is Max Lindquist, the reigning AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year. We know Max broke his collarbone again this offseason. I talked to Max yesterday. He said that the shoulder is progressing well. He's hoping to be back on the bike in the next 3 weeks or so. So then, Casey, we're looking at, mid-February. He fully intends to race Daytona, but should we be tempering our expectations for the start of the season, knowing, Max will only have been, on the bike for a few weeks at that point, only have a few weeks of riding under his belt for the opener. So should we be tempering expectations? I mean, you've been around the sport long enough. That's why I'm asking your opinion. Like I said earlier, I think that it's probably safe to say he's not going to be 100%, but maybe even Max at not 100% is still going to be a podium contender, because last year, man, he was fire. That was his first race as a pro, and he damn near podiumed. He finished 4th.
Yeah, and I think I think the shoulder, like the bone, will be 100% by the time we get to Daytona, and he's already going to obviously be back on the bike for a couple of weeks before Daytona.
Yeah,
he didn't forget how to ride the machine.
Yep.
Maybe his cardio would be the only thing in my eyes that he wouldn't be 100% on.
Sure.
Maybe some of his bike, technique or something, he's not going to be 100% sharp, but going to a race like Daytona, cardio is not going to be as serious as if we opened up at, say, Three Palms,
right,
where it's a really rough, full length moto. So I think, in all honesty, I don't think you can take any expectations away from him. I think the pressure is there in a sense. He ended the year very well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, almost ended it very well, besides Briarcliff. But, with 2 podiums there towards the later part of the season, I expect him to be in that running. I mean, it's going to be a knockdown, drag out. And, I don't see Max at any different level than what he was last year going in, if not better.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of last season, obviously, we know he got hurt at the last race, but with the podiums that he had, racked up right before that, like, he looked like a guy like, man, if he takes any steps forward, he's going to be at that battle at the very front. Yeah. And now he's, now he's 18 and it's going to be fun to watch. So he's going to be a guy, as long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be incredible. You're chuckling here, but it's got to be just because he's next level, man.
Now he's 18. That's what I'm chuckling at.
It's ridiculous.
My mind. Like,
it's ridiculous.
He's at least 25.
When you talk to him, there's
no way that kid's 18. Like, he is a different breed with that. But
so we talked about, and sorry to interrupt there. We talked about Cody Gibson, and I posted as I'm doing all this digging into Cody Gibson stuff, that while Cody Gibson was in Pro-Am at the time, 2012, Max Lindquist was on a 50. He was winning the 50 class, and that was 2012. So that was 10 years ago. Max Lindquist is now, has pro class podiums under his belt. And 10 years ago, he was on a 50 in the 50 class. That's incredible.
Yeah. And Bryce is the same situation.
Yeah.
He's he's one that was probably on 50s at that time. Mm-hmm. Drawing a blank now, but there's got to be a few other guys that were in that same situation that are now in the pro class and very competitive guys. So it's cool. But Joel was racing Pro-Am and Pro, 11 years ago. Right. And Max was racing 50s, and now Chad was a Pro-Am guy back then and stuff. So Chad's a little bit further back, but it's insane.
Yeah. Unreal. Well, yeah. So in 2012, Chad was winning his first championship, and Max was on a 50. Try to wrap your head around that. It's kind of funny.
I'm aging myself here. That's the way we speak. Yeah. But no, that's incredible. And Max has had a pretty fast progression.
Oh, super.
And he
fast.
took a year off.
I know.
He took a full season off.
It's unreal. How do you not cheer for that kid? So he's going to be one to watch. And if you're thinking to yourself, we're missing someone when we talk about these tier 2 riders, that's because we touched on it a little bit already, but Wesley Wolfe announced that he's going to miss the 2022 season. He announced this earlier this offseason due to complications following the injuries he suffered at Loretta Lynn's. And that's a damn shame, Casey. It's a shame because he improved as much as anyone last season. He improved in such a major way, getting on the Johnny Hale program there, the JH racing team. And he grabbed 2 podiums, the first podiums of his career. He was in the mix, throughout the whole season there. Honestly, I just hope we haven't seen the last of Wesley Wolfe, because man, he was a rider to watch. He added so much to that tier, so much to the class. He was a great rider to watch, and it's not going to be the same without him. So I just hope that we haven't seen the last of him.
Yeah, most definitely. He was on tear last year, and he put his focus into really, pushing into the ATV motocross and wanting to be, a podium contender, a podium guy. And that's what he did. And, he was having a great year, little hiccup. And, it's really unfortunate that he's not going to be back with us this year. I thought it was like, there's a chance maybe late in the season or something, but it sounds like it's the whole year. But we've seen guys miss seasons before and come back even stronger. Mm-hmm. And Wesley's one of those guys. He's still pretty young, really young. So, I mean, he's not even to what we call like that age in the quad racing of where you really come into your stride.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. We've also seen guys, say they're taking a year off and then not come back. That's the part that scares me. But like you said, he's a young kid yet. And I would think that the best is yet to come. The best is in front of him. So that's why I want to see him back. As the number one podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. Insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Casey Greek, Jay Goebel, and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to impactsolutionsatv.com or give them a call today.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DIGGINGDEEP20. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades, supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2021's impressive lineup includes Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli of the Phoenix Racing Team, myself, Cody Janssen, and my back-to-back national championships, Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Genusa, Wesley Wolfe, and many more, including all of the top 14 GNCC Series pros, led by the champ Walker Fowler, Bryce and Neal, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, and Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or message the show for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. 15 years into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back with us and continuing to make huge waves in the ATV world. For the second consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for some of the fastest riders on the planet. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products available for all makes and models. Want to be just like Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli riding with Factory 43's industry-leading products? Head over to factory43atv.com today.
Success in the ATV MX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Haymauer Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Haymauer, at Haymauer Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Offices located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
So our Tier 3 riders, are made up of Logan Stanfield, Cody Ford, and Michael Allred. Everyone will be back on a very similar program to last year. Each rider impressed in their own way last season. Logan Stanfield was rock solid. Cody Ford was also super consistent. And for a rookie, Michael Allred was as well. He impressed me a ton. Logan's best finish was an 8th in 2021, but he was basically 8th every single weekend. So that was crazy impressive for Logan. Cody Ford and Michael Allred weren't quite as consistent, but their peaks were maybe a little higher. They both finished 6th overall once in 2021. So which rider, Casey, will be the first one to grab a top 5 in 2022 of those 3?
Ooh, I got to go with Logan because he's done it. Well,
Yeah,
shoot, Cody's been on the podium.
Cody's been on the podium.
Yeah.
But like you said, Logan did it at Lake Sugar Tree in 2020. And that seemed like a precursor to what was to come because, man, he was top 5 all day. Like in both motos, he was clearly a top 5 guy. And I think that you're right. I mean, that would have been my answer too. I think that that's something that we could see more of from Logan. He's just such a good, consistent, like veteran, like racer. And that's what I think that makes him maybe the guy for that spot.
Yeah, and I think Michael's fired up. I actually talked to Michael quite a bit, and I'm really close with the guy that runs his program, Chris Hunt, and the Huntscapes crew.
Yep.
I've actually hung out with Mason a bunch this winter, or not a bunch, but a few times we went fishing. Me and Chris try to go fishing if we could go fishing every Saturday, we would, but that's not how my life goes, nor his.
Right.
When I'm home, the wife keeps me moving, but it's crazy, all those guys, they're going to be fired up, and they're going to be good. Michael's got to go down to Florida. I know Cody's been on the bike quite a bit already. Mm-hmm. Logan's down at Deckers, and it's going to be good. It's still going to be tight, and that was one of the hardest picks last year.
Yeah,
with the fantasy was trying to pick who was going to be in that, in that tier right there, and what guy is going to do the best that weekend.
Yeah, they're so evenly matched. Especially to like see Michael get up in there with 2 guys that were seasoned pros. I thought that was impressive. I mean, last time we saw Mike, he was winning, he won pro stock at Briarcliff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And Cody too. Cody improved in a major way last year. He got our Digging Deep ATVMX most improved pro award. And like, I feel like he took a major step. I mean, he went on a run of like, he didn't finish in the top 10 at the first race. And then he was in the top 10 every other race after that. So it was very similar to Logan Stanfield. I mean, that's going to be a grouping to watch for sure. And a rider that we have penciled in to join that 3rd tier of racers is Zach Decker, the Pro-Am runner-up last year to Bryce Ford and the defending Pro Sport national champion. So if we do, I'm assuming that that's where he belongs as we start the season here. If he does end up racing the pro class, what like we think is the case as we sit here right now.
I reached out to the Decker crew.
Okay.
And it still might be up in the air a little bit. This is from Jason. Hopefully he is. He has not trained yet this year. Hopefully starting next week. He had a severe case of pneumonia this past month and has been bedridden. I think he's going to go try to ride a few laps a day for the first time. So he hasn't really got to put in the work that, he's going to need to be in the pro class. So knowing the talent and knowing, how Zach is and the will that he has, and I mean, he's such a talented rider. My opinion and my thought is that we're going to see him at Daytona. We're definitely going to see him at Daytona no matter what. Because if he doesn't decide to go into the pro class, he'll race pro sport.
Right.
But I think we're going to see him in pro come Daytona. He's got a month. He's obviously got one of the best facilities out there to train at. Right. And his determination and where his speed was let off last year, I think, a month worth of busting his butt and putting his nose down, I think he could definitely be a guy that insert himself right there into this tier 3 and be right there in the pro class come Daytona.
Oh, I think so too. I hope that we do see him make that graduation to the pro class, because he's a guy that you could have inserted into some of those pro races last year, and he would have been a fun guy to watch, see mix up with those guys. We saw some of the battles that he put on with Bryce Ford. That was fun to watch in the Pro-Am class last year. So Zach will be a guy to watch for sure. So yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is how do you think, this year's probably most exciting up and coming rookie is going to stack up? But I think, when we're talking about tier 3, those are guys that are basically like, the top 10, finishing out the top 10 guys. And I think that's where I would think that Zach should, kind of be, right? Like when you think about, I can just like picture in my mind him battling with, Logan, or battling with Cody. I feel like those are guys that I could easily see him battling with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you could see a guy like Zach with his blistering speed insert himself into the top 5.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. Where those other guys their lap times are going to stay the same until the end of the race. Like I feel like that's a learning curve as a rookie. I think that we've seen that with riders. I've been there as a rider. But yeah, like his peak speed is maybe at another level than some of those guys too. I don't know, but it'll be fun to watch. That'll be fun to monitor. I hope that we see him out there. And another guy that would be a great addition back to this strong field of racers is a former teammate of Zach's. Actually, of course, I'm talking about Alan Myers. We received so many questions about Alan. Like when I put a little social media tease out there, for people to send in their questions and stuff to talk about on this episode, man, the Alan questions were the overwhelming majority of them. So Casey, I know that you've worked closely with Alan in the past. We obviously were bummed. You were as bummed as anybody that he wasn't out there last year. What do we know about this situation, Casey? Will we see Alan Myers return to racing in 2022, or what do we know about that?
The last I spoke to him, it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. He was kind of working a couple deals, trying to get some funding together and, some additions to his program to try to be able to do it. And from what I know, and I haven't spoke to him in probably about a month about this stuff, or maybe just a little bit longer, but the last I had spoke with him, there was nothing. He wasn't going to go racing. If anything, he'd probably come back, maybe help Zach or, help Logan be at the races. He still wants to be there. I know he's been doing some riding schools with Joel and, been down at Decker's a little bit. So unfortunately, from what I know, and I didn't reach out to him just to get confirmation before we did this, but I'm pretty certain that's the case.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately. That's the pieces I was starting to put together based on probably not hearing anything. I know he was awesome for Logan last year. Him being the guy to go to the gate with Logan and stuff, I think was a major benefit to Logan's program. So as much as we'd love to go ahead.
And with Zach too. I mean, sure. You got a guy like Alan that is won Pro-Am races and, been in the title fight in Pro-Am for, a few years and, been a top 5 and really good, a podium guy in the pro class. So Alan brings a lot of knowledge and, he's learned a lot over the years. And yeah, that one hurts me a lot.
I know,
because I like that kid a lot. I like the family, and I believe in Alan. So it's unfortunate. If I had a way, I would pull something out of the hat for him.
Right. Yeah, I knew that it was tough. I knew it. If this was the answer, it wasn't going to be fun to talk about, but it was, the pro class is a grind. And from talking to Rob Stanfield, Logan's dad last year, he talked glowingly about, how great of an experience racing was for Logan last year, simply because Alan was there with him. They were creating a fun environment for Logan. And I love to hear that. So if nothing else, if Alan can't be out there on the track, I hope that he continues to be there at the races and, able to help out some of those younger guys, some of his buddies. I think that you saw the positive effects that had last season. So as we complete the class here, as we move on to tier 4, I did some digging with most of these guys earlier this week, so we could just give an accurate update, kind of heading into the season, with the season not that far away here. Starting with fantasy darling Cesar Jimenez. Cesar announced that he had broke his radius and ulna bones in his forearm/wrist back in December. Cesar says that his mobility is around 90% at this point. And he's working on his strength now. Daytona's up in the air for him, but he said we should know more mid-February-ish. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. But Casey, thoughts on potentially missing Caesar from the class at the beginning of the year? He's a lock, a fantasy staple. My fantasy team would be lost without him.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate to lose anyone. And Caesar, he's always a smiling face and a happy kid, for the most part. And it's always good to see, guys from other countries coming over. I think we're going to have a consistent visitor this year from another country. I don't know that they've made a press release or announcement that they're going to do it, so I don't want to spoil it for him.
Right.
I'm going to be working with him, so
good.
I don't necessarily want to say what's going on for him. I would rather him be able to announce it, but he's a pretty good staple over in Europe, and I think that's going to be a nice addition. And Caesar's another one, a guy from out of this country that comes over and races. And that's a taxing task to come to a different country and go racing. I've went to other countries and went racing, and I didn't even have to stay there for 6 months at a time or anything like that. Like, I was in and out all the time, and it's trying. It's very tough to do that stuff.
Yeah, I think of, Caesar's been here long enough that I just think of him as, one of the guys at the races at this point. But yeah, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. I can't imagine how tough that is for those guys, but it sounds like he'll be back. Just, we don't know what Daytona looks like for him. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. So going down the list here, Vitek Nakenyak, another guy I think so many of us, began to really enjoy here last season. He's our Polish friend. So he's still on the mend from his injury late in the season last year. He says he should be back on the bike, able to return to riding here pretty soon. But a return to the States is probably not likely for him, not realistic for 2022, which is a shame because I gave that guy so much credit. I mean, we hopped on these shows so many times last year. Casey talked about him just doing his thing, grinding away and going to the gate like he was by himself, all these things. And man, I give him so much credit because he did really well at times. And his program probably wasn't up to snuff with most of the other riders out there. And he still was super impressive.
Yeah, and he rode good. I hated to see him get hurt, and I hope he heals up quick, and at least maybe we can get him back for 2023.
Yeah,
and it's just like, again, it's awesome to have that guy from another country and get to see it and get to experience being in America and going through the motions. And I think some of his experience may have been tainted a little bit because of this COVID stuff.
Yeah.
I know it was a real hard struggle for him to get over here because of that. And then once he got here and stuff, I think it was a little bit better, but you don't get to get the full experience of what we, had in the past and that kind of stuff. So hopefully he gets to make an appearance back here down the road.
Yeah, don't sleep on the fact that he didn't know the tracks either. Like all the dudes he's racing against have been racing these tracks for as long as they can remember, and he doesn't know the tracks. So like we go to High Point or we go to Redbud or we go to name the track. Everybody knows how fast to hit the jumps. Like we've all been there, and he hadn't been there. So it's super impressive, especially because they don't race on tracks like that overseas.
Could you imagine walking into Daytona when all you've ever done is really raced in Europe and those style tracks your whole life, and then you roll in? I was there when he rode at Slux's place in Florida.
Yeah,
I think it was a Sunday before Daytona, and man, it is freaking balls of steel because he just went for it. Like, I mean, he followed Jeffrey and Joel off of stuff. I mean, he did it the right way. Yeah. But there's no way, like, he never jumped big finish line jumps like that or stuff like that, where he grew up. So he adapted well, which, for me, in his shoes, that should be even more incentive to come back because he did adapt well. He raced. It wasn't like he was just floundering around by himself and last and didn't, way out of place. Like,
I agree.
He was a guy. He was a factor every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, High Point stands out to me. At High Point, he was mixing it up with Cody Ford, like like guys, inside the top 10. Like he was mixing it up with those guys, almost like early in the season. I just thought it was very impressive. So hope that we see that guy back, and hopefully, like you said, his healing process continues here. Vince Merman, will be back. He's going to be a guy to watch. I think he's at Pafford's right now getting ready for the season. So he should come into Daytona totally fired up, prepared, and ready to go, Casey. I think that that Vince will be a guy to watch, especially with what you've told us in the past, especially if there's a big whoop section. He'll be a guy to watch.
Yeah, if they put a big whoop section in Daytona, we'll look for Vince to be flying through the middle of them. Just
hey, there was
hanging off the back of that thing.
Over the years, there's been some big whoop sections there. Not these past couple years so far, but I can remember some gnarly whoop sections earlier in this Daytona thing over the years, because I remember that was like my secret weapon. Like you'd hold on until you got to the whoop section, and then that was the best passing point.
Yeah, no, he's gnarly. I mean, that guy, he's taller too. Mm-hmm. And he rips that thing. And that's one thing I've always just seen with him. Like, he don't care. Stack him up bigger, I'll go through him.
Yeah, nice kid too. So we'll be pulling for him for sure. Michael Perkins, he's dealing with some more shoulder injuries, it sounds like. So his 2022 season may be up in the air, he told me yesterday. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. He told me he was going to keep me in the loop, and we'll report anything that we hear there. Zach Harris, another guy. It sounds like he's going to be back for the entirety of the season. It sounds like he joined the program this off season, which I know from experience that'll help his program in a major way. But like I said, he said with the exception of maybe one race, he's planning to race the full schedule, and he's a guy that you're working with now, Casey.
Yeah, for sure. Good kid, good family. I actually spoke with him yesterday. We just kind of text back and forth about a couple things and stuff. And, he's kind of sort of in my area. He's a little more Western North Carolina, Virginia area than I am.
Okay.
But good to work with him. Happy to have him back. And I think he learned a lot last year. And I think that's something that's going to kind of push and get him into, getting in that mix and being one of the guys.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, awesome to have those kind of guys in there, and it's tough. Like the class is so fast, but we need guys at every level in that class. So yeah, he'll be a guy to watch for sure. Second year, first full year as a pro, it sounds like. 46-year-old Marshall Smith will be back to continue to chase his goals and dreams. Now as it'll be his second season, his second year pro that he'll be. He plans to attend a good share of the races as well. Casey, how can you not cheer for this guy? 46 years young. He's out there mixing it up with the kids. That'll be fun to watch too, for sure. He's a guy that when you talk to him, he's just the most nice, respectful dude. So I'm glad that he's going to race some more races this season as well. He's fulfilling a dream. So he's got to be proud of that.
Yeah. And that, he's another guy that I'm going to, help in the pits and, be there for, if he needs some tune in and, any kind of help and, advice. And, it's funny, we talked about it last year. He's, 46-year-old rookie in the pro class, which is awesome. I mean, live that dream, dude. Do it. And,
I know it.
I've spoke to him a few times over this winter, and, I got mad respect for him, and he rides really good.
I know he
does. So it's getting some good starts and believing that he can get up there and run. And I think you're going to see him crack that top 10 and be one of the guys too. I mean, I like all these guys.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know. Yeah. We wanted to be able to touch on everybody at least a little bit. Jacob Stevens is now racing the Work Series out west, so it's unclear if we'll see him this summer. He said he doesn't know for sure, but the West Coast will be the priority for him. That much we do know. I'm assuming this is who we were talking about, Patrick Turrini, 4-time Italian champion. He's going to be a guy to watch. He flashed last year at Daytona, the only race he raced with us. He plans to race the entire schedule this season. So we're going to see him on a Wienen Motorsports Yamaha with Elka suspension. So again, I think that's probably the guy you're touching on. He's going to be a guy to watch, Casey. It's going to be fun. It sounds like to have that international flair, he could be the guy that we see each and every weekend. Very, very much like VTEC last year, but Patrick Turrini, he's going to be a guy to watch for sure.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was talking about. I didn't know if it was 100% public knowledge, completely. So I didn't want to be the one that sent that out there.
Hey, I'm that guy. I'm that guy.
That's your job. That's not my job.
No, I got the info from him yesterday, so I figured it must be able to be public knowledge. He gave me the info that he was going to come back, race the whole season. Sounded like he was going to be on a Wienen Motorsports quad with Elka stuff. So that's why I literally thought to myself, I bet you Casey's involved with this program now a little bit.
Yeah, so he works with another company like we are, but over in Europe. And so some members of his team got a hold of me and, asked if we would be a part and, help them out and get them dialed in over here. So I actually just received a set of shocks from him on Wednesday. And the note that's in the box is to ship them to Chad Wienen. And so when my guy checked them in, I just got the work order today because we've been so swamped. He's finally getting to get them checked in.
Okay.
And the note, like the name address on it says Chad Wienen. I was just like dying when I seen it. I was like, I've never seen that come through the shop because, we don't do anything for, with Chad in that sense.
Right.
And so I was just like taken back for a second. And then I was like,
what?
Never mind. I know what's going on here. Cause that's what, when I talked to his guy, he's like, just, do what you're going to do to him. And then just ship him to Chad so Chad can put him on the machine.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, no problem. And I actually need to call Chad and talk to him about a couple of things that might be on the machine. So that'll be fun. I've been close with Chad for years, so anytime I get to talk to him outside of racing and just shoot it with him, that's always fun.
Oh yeah, you guys have been on teams together in the past, and I'm sure you work with them on the tire ball side of things. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So so
and tires, and
Yep.
I've done tire testing with them over the years, and we still talk tires and tire balls all the time. So the hands are in everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why I wanted to touch on it quick, because when we ask you about, who knows that the listener, we obviously cover over and over and over again that you're tight with the Joel Hetrick program. But it's important for the listener to know how much experience you have with Chad too. So when we ask you about Chad, you're bringing a whole lot of past Chad knowledge to those conversations as well.
Yeah.
So unclear if Ty Hudson will return to any races this season. I guess we'll have to kind of monitor that. He was the last guy on our list, but one new name for 2022 is Paolo Galizzi. Number 17. He's another Italian rider, 11-time Italian champion. And like we've been saying, it's just great to have more international flair out there, Casey. He hopes to race as many events as possible, potentially all of them. I originally thought, well, maybe him and Patrick Turrini are coming together, but their dates were different when I talked to them. So maybe they're not coming over here together. I would think that there's like Italian bragging rights. Like you want to be the number one Italian guy at the ATV Nationals, I would think. But this is going to be a new experience for him. Paolo Galizzi being new experience, but he's going to be another guy to watch and another great addition to the series. I mean, this international flair, it continues to prove that, this is the premier ATV racing series in the world, and great to have those guys. They're great additions to the series. And I wonder sometimes if this is like a trickle down effect from the motocross of nations, the quad cross of nations races, that were like, these guys see those guys come in, race those events, and now, hey, I want to go to the States and race those guys.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. And, I can't wait to get back into that and get back over there and get to race the quad cross of nations. And, I've done some of that stuff with Jeremy Warnia in the past, and, the experience is incredible. And I hope, we get to go back in 2022, hopefully.
Yeah, me too.
And, if I can find a way, to be able to go over there and help out, like I'm all in to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's, giving these guys insight to want to come over, and it's given us a connection to where really there wasn't much communication between the Euro riders and American riders, and now there is. And, I think, I know Gloop talks to a bunch of those guys all the time, and he's always posting some stuff and keeping us updated on what's going on over there. I still talk to Jeremy Warnia, a couple times a month. Mm-hmm. And, I did some research on Patrick. Like as soon as I, kind of got the email and the phone call and did that, I texted Jeremy. I'm like, hey, give me the scoop on this guy. What do you think? What's he capable of? Where's he stack up with you guys? Because my generation of the Euro riders that I know is Ramon Dupree, Jeremy Warnia, those guys.
Right.
And so I'm like, so where does he, equivalence to what you were, and how is it going to work when he comes over here? So Jeremy had very good things to say about him. So I'm really excited to work with him.
Yeah, another guy that we heard about on the Cody Gibson podcast, by the way, Jeremy Warnia, talking about the battle they had at Pleasure Valley that year. But awesome stuff. Another great guy to add to the series here. So that's going to be exciting. Should be a really exciting class of pro class racers. There could be another name or two that gets entered. We'll see. But that's who's on our list right now. And it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really, really exciting. I think that last season was as competitive as a year as we've seen in a long time. And I think that this year is shaping up to be a whole lot of the same. So amped up for that for sure.
Insurance. It's not something everyone likes to talk about, but let's face it, if you race motocross, it's something you should have. Integrated Financial Concepts is an independent financial service and insurance firm who offers moto-friendly insurance and helps out riders like Nick Genusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Joel Hetrick gain confidence on the track. With their unique Safe to Race and Safe to Ride programs, if you qualify, they have the ability to offer life insurance with living benefits to those who ride. With these living benefits, you may have the ability to access a portion of your life insurance policy while you're still living, for things like cancer, heart attack, stroke, or chronic illness. They can also help with many other things, such as home, auto, motorhome, and trailer insurance, as well as college planning, special needs planning, payroll processing, as well as group health benefits for your business. So whether something happens on or off the track, Integrated Financial Concepts has you covered. With their complimentary one-on-one appointments, what are you waiting for? Reach out to Mike Daniele at DANIELE_Michael at NLGroupMail.com today and see how Integrated Financial Concepts can help you. Living benefit riders are supplemental benefits that can be added to a life insurance policy and are not suitable unless you have the need for life insurance. Riders are optional and may require additional premium and may not be available in all states or on all products. This is not a solicitation for any specific insurance policy.
Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products headlined by the 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the Concrete Division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Here at Digging Deep, we have an obvious passion for ATVs and pridefully enjoy sharing the sport's history. Since 2019, when the podcast was born, we've been working to partner with individuals who share our passion, but one man and his vision had been missing from our partnership group. Until now. When it comes to the sport's history, the hallowed grounds of Binky's Forever ATC Museum has it all. Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3- and 4-wheelers has preserved history by spanning all makes and models from Honda 3-wheelers in chronological order to unique builds that shaped ATV racing as we know it, like Doug Gust's iconic DRZ-powered hybrid thumper and everything in between. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we certainly relate to here at Digging Deep. Binky's goal is to share his amazing collection with fellow enthusiasts by making his prized possessions accessible to the public via scheduled visits. Follow Forever ATC Museum on Facebook and watch foreveratc.com for further updates on possibly getting a chance to see Binky's Forever ATC Museum for yourself. We are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant. The best power sports coolant on the market, Evans prevents overheating and boilover so you need not worry about harming your engine or suffering a premature end to your ride no matter what the conditions. Designed for use in ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, and other power sports equipment, when conditions are at their worst, Evans is at its best. Upgrade to Evans now to avoid overheating and boilover next time you hit the track or trail. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 at checkout to save at evanscoolant.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. And one other cool aspect of the 2022 version of the Daytona ATV Supercross is the addition of the Pro Sport and WMX classes. We ran nearly all the classes but the minis when we first started racing Daytona, when we first started going to Daytona. And then, it became a pro only event over the years there. And now they're bringing back a couple premier classes, which I think is a great thing, Casey. So starting with Pro Sport, I'm thinking, your riders to watch are going to be Dane Molander, who you already touched on a little bit. Aaron Salinas, I would think, is going to be another guy that's going to be out there. Blair Miller, Joseph Chambers. Those are guys that we saw in the Pro Sport and Pro Am classes last year. I believe that you can add Brett Musig to that list based on what he said when he was on the show. He's going to be a guy who gets great starts, and he's always been fast. He showed that last year when he returned to those fast classes. So he's going to be a guy to watch. Potentially Zach Kazmarek. I don't know if we'll see him right away at Daytona, but he's another guy that was up in the mix. It seemed like the 25 plus class made their mark in the pro am and pro sport classes last year. I think that could be again the same this year, but I fully expect to see some great racing in pro sport at Daytona, because you got a bunch of young kids, some older guys, some guys that definitely want to win Daytona. So I think that'll be exciting. That'll make for some great racing, I would think.
Pro sport at Daytona is going to be absolute insane.
Yeah.
I was just like sitting there talking how Ron Jackson and Mason Jackson were at the shop, and Mason's going to run Pro-Am or Pro Sport in A college, Pro Sport college, and A, I believe, is the three classes that he's planning on racing.
Okay.
And, just sitting there talking to Ron, and I rattled off like 10 guys, like not even trying. You got Blair, you got Dane, there's rumors about Zach Kazmarek running pro class.
Oh, really?
And so I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I know he's been throwing out little tidbits here and there social media wise. So I don't know if that's going to, come through 100% or not.
Okay.
But,
man, that he'd be another guy I'd love to see in the pro class. Like that'd be another guy, like, in his day, man, he had some good runs on Johnny's bikes.
Yeah. So, he has potential to be able to race pro sport. Yep. Or he can go get his license again and run pro class. But if he runs pro sport, I mean, he's going to be competitive. He's going to be right up there in the front and battling with those guys. Man, if Zach doesn't move up to pro and he stays pro am and pro sport, I mean, that's going to add a whole nother flair into there.
What about Launderville? Will Launderville be in there?
I think Launderville's scheduled to be at Daytona. So
I would have thought
that's
so.
Going to be, another key player there, Mason Jackson, Launderville, Dane, Blair, Andrew Shaddle. I mean, that kid was absolute fire towards the end of the year. There was weekends that he was, knocking on Dane's door pretty tight. So it's going to be insane. Matt Hirschfield, he's going to run pro sport.
Okay.
He's a fast kid from up in the Northeast. Oh, there's so many guys. Lane Baird, another one. And like, honestly, there's 10 guys easily. It's more like 15. I was thinking that we're going to end up with about 24 in that class for Daytona. And I was talking to someone.
16 make the main, right? Like, isn't that how that works?
Yeah, it's got to be. I think it's 16. So I was like sitting there, and I don't remember who I was talking to. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking like 24 or so riders for pro sport. And they're like, no, we're thinking it's going to be like 30, 35 riders.
Oh, my gosh.
And a lot of times if there's like 20, like they'll
take them 18, all. Yeah,
they'll just take everyone. But that's not going to be the case. Like there's someone that's going to go home disappointed. Oh, yeah. And there's a good chance it could be one of the guys that we would pick to win the race. Like, because there's literally going to be 16 guys at least that are top caliber guys, and
think that they're going to go podium. Yeah. I remember the first year of Daytona. I've said this on the podcast before, but there was like 26 or 28 or something pros. And I remember just being scared to death that I wasn't going to make the main. Like I've been in Florida for a month, I spent every dime I had, like we're going all in on this season. And
that was the one. Didn't you get like fourth in the heat?
Third.
Yeah. I
got
third.
That one. I got third. There's a picture of you as I'm pushing my bike to the line behind like Natalie, Joel, Thomas, and Uppy or something. And, or Bird might have been in there. And I was
Bird,
fifth.
yeah.
I remember I was fifth gate pick and I was so proud. And,
Heck yeah.
that was probably my proudest moment as a pro. But yeah, I just remember being scared to death. So I'm sure that there's going to be, it's not the pro class, I guess, but there's guys that, yeah, they might be stressing that they're not going to make it. Like, think about the pressure for, the however many guys are going to the LCQ. That's going to be like a death match.
Dude, and so, yeah, you're going to take you're going to do, 6 and 6, and then take 2 out of the LCQ or 4 out of the LCQ type of thing. So, that's going to be clutch, because you're going to have,
yeah,
15 or so guys in the LCQ that are really good.
Right,
say 30 show up.
Yeah.
You put 15 in each qualifier, and then you're going to end up with 18 in the LCQ.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's going to be guys looking at the lineup of their heat races like, okay, who's in mine,
Yeah. And it's going to be clutch. And you're going to have double row starts.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be gnarly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't wait for it. The whole season. Daytona is not going to tell us the story.
Oh no.
And it's definitely not going to tell us the story in the pro sport class. But I think the guy at Daytona that can just pull a clean start and just ride his own race and stay out of the carnage, because it's going to be carnage.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be insane carnage, because those guys are all just so hungry. They're going to be banging on each other. There's going to be mistakes happen. But I think you're going to see the guys that just circulate the track at a good, solid pace and stay out of trouble is what you're going to end up with the podium.
Yeah. I think that, this is a guy that you work closely with, but Dane Molander, he gets good starts. You obviously know he's going to be, one of the favorites, I guess, depending on who's all in there, but he's going to be one of the favorites this year in that class. So he's going to be a guy to watch for sure. He's a guy that stands out to me as, probably one of the favorites in pro sport at Daytona, I would think.
Yeah. And he's probably one of the ones that's in that class that has experience in it already.
Right.
And he's already tested his waters, and so his head game is going to be strong. Launderville, he flies. That kid's so fast. He's going to be in there.
Yeah.
All of them. Shadow. It wouldn't surprise me if Shadow rocket a whole shot and friggin' walk off with that thing. Like, he could do it. He's fast enough. He's got the talent. He's got the speed. Dane's obviously shown that he can jump right in there. And he jumped in and raced the gnarliest pro sport race of the year at Redbud.
Yeah.
With all of you guys that are, seasoned veterans. When you listed off the names, and we obviously covered that a bunch, but like, that's the same thing. I think he could jump in there clutch and pull this thing off, or, at least be a podium guy for sure. And I think just keeping it right. Kale Deal.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I didn't even think about him.
He's going to be a guy that's going to be up there too. Just had a couple weird years for Kale, breaking a femur in the off season last year and stuff, and coming back and not being like 100%. I know he's been putting in a lot of work, and I've been talking to his dad, and those guys, they're ready. They're fired up too.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's exciting with like their pro prospects in years to come as well. Like, there's going to be a lot of up and coming fast kids that are going to be exciting to watch. So pro sport's going to be an exciting addition to Daytona this year.
We can't cap off talking about pro sport without talking about Chambers though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I mentioned
definitely going to be there.
I mentioned them originally. Like, you added a bunch of names I hadn't thought of, but yeah, my list was Dane Molander, Aaron Salinas, Blair Miller, Joseph Chambers, Brett Musick, Zach Kazmarek. But like, he's going to be another guy. I see Joseph Chambers ride sometimes, and his riding style reminds me of, like, I don't know, Dustin Wimmer or something. Like, he's so fluid on the bike. He's a fun rider to watch. And if he takes a step forward, like, he could be very much in the mix at the very front of those classes all year long.
Yeah, it's gonna, man, I'm fired up.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So the last class that we need to breeze through here quickly is WMX, the fastest women on four wheels. And what an awesome opportunity for the ladies, being treated like the premier racers that they are, getting a chance to line up inside Daytona International Raceway. The three-time reigning, defending, undisputed WMX champion, Andrea Berger, comes in as the odds-on favorite. Her biggest challengers are likely to be Neve Shaw, Madison Trower, who made up the rest of the top three in points last season. Don't overlook McKaylee Vantium, who was good for a couple podiums last season. And new addition to the WMX class is Kinsey Osborne, daughter of Briarcliff owner Jeremy Osborne. She, comes in with some buzz, at least in my mind. So Casey, thoughts on WMX at Daytona? What an awesome opportunity for these ladies of ATV Motocross.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting because I would say we're probably going to end up maybe not in the same situation as Pro Sport in that class, but I say there's 20 girls there.
I think so too.
In that class, it's going to be packed.
Yep.
And I think there's going to be some fill-ins that possibly get hurt, in a sense of somebody not make the main and,
Right.
things like that. But I think, obviously Andrea is going to be strong and ready.
Yep.
Neve, I know, I've been working with Neve and she's putting in, she's doing as much as she can this off season. She's been down training at Deckers and she's doing things to get herself ready and get herself in that title fight. Actually spoke with Maddie yesterday.
Okay.
Just text back and forth a little bit, getting her stuff set up. And so, Maddie is just so quiet and so shy and
She's such a great rider.
But once she puts the helmet on, she kind of changes. And so I look to see her take that next step this year too. And, I've talked with Craig Shaw about it and he's like, she's the one to watch. She's the one that's coming. And that's the one that we should be worried about getting up here and battling with us because once she figures it out, she's going to be up there. Yeah. So I can't wait. I'm excited for them. I'm glad they got this opportunity. I think Jeremy's daughter is one, I don't remember if Natalie's going to race it or not.
So she wasn't on my list solely because I didn't think she was going to be old enough yet, but maybe I was wrong.
I think that's what it is. She's not old enough. And I just talked to Ron about it and my mind's in so many places and I can't remember what Ron told me.
Okay.
But, she's going to be a key factor in her classes. She was so fast last year and, her and Kinsey were just battling it nonstop. So, I think the both of them, have a really good chance. I know Shimon's moving up to a 250 now, so she's another one that's going to be, a key player in that. I think she's only 14, I believe, so she can't even race the 15 plus class.
Yeah, but she's fast too. I like those guys a lot.
She's real fast.
Yeah, she's fast and going to be another rider to watch. But yeah, I love, very much to the guys classes, but to see these girls coming up and some more talent coming in the younger age groups, it's awesome to see. And I hate to have not touched on every single women's rider. I guess I don't know everybody that's going to be there, but I think you're right. I think that it is going to be close to a full gate plus because it seems like all the women want to go support Daytona, which they should. What an awesome opportunity. Again, I love, and we talked about this last year on shows, but the WMX class, getting the coverage and the, kind of the premier vibes that they deserve, which is awesome. And I love that for the sport.
Yeah, and I'm just going off of what I'm seeing in the post, hey, WMX is coming to Daytona, and I'm counting all the names tagged. I'm 1, 2. I'm holy crap! Here comes the wave, and I hope it gives them that bite to where they want to come. To all of them, and we have 20 girls at all the races and a stacked field, and we get to really see it shine. They're there, and I mentioned Shelby, but in the pro sport side of it, again, not to switch back, but Braden Shimon. He's another one that, he had not such a stellar season last year, but showed a lot of potential speed, just little injuries after little injuries and bike malfunctions and this and that. So I think he's another one that can insert himself right there in this class of pro sport guys and be successful. But no, WMX is going to be good. It's going to be really good for the promotion of that class. And, the things that Jeremy's been doing behind the scenes, helping promote that class, obviously, like, he has some incentive towards that because his daughter's in the class, but at the same time, like, he truly cares about all the classes, and he's really pushing to give them the prestige that they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those classes are growing, which is awesome. And I love to see that. I love it for the sport. And I love that we got a healthy group of ladies out there in ATV motocross. I love to see that. So that should pretty much complete our preseason update show for now, Casey. I think that we went over everything we possibly could. I think you and I are sitting here completely amped up for the races. So are the listeners right now, no doubt. One more thing before we get out of here, Casey, I received a few questions about sponsorship, like how do new riders acquire sponsors? You guys obviously handle that, deal with that all the time at Impact Solutions. So I thought I'd ask you while I have you, your thoughts on sponsorship as far as like new riders getting into it, because there's people out there that inevitably don't know how to acquire sponsors, even as new or young racers. So do you have a chance? Could you get into that real quick?
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways. We do it like old school. I literally sit in front of the computer and read every single person's resume.
Yep.
And then, I have a pre-typed contract that changed percentages and names, and I email that off. And I like being able to do that. I feel like I get to learn my people a little bit more. It's very time consuming, so I'm really slow at it. I was just looking earlier, and I think I got a stack of like 50 that I need to go through still. And I've already sent out a god number of contracts and stuff. So, but no, I think, searching social media, there's a lot of things. And then like Hook It, you have to excuse me, I don't know all the names, but those are really good bases to get in. And it's not always about having a resume. Like if you're just getting into the sport, it's okay just to reach out and say, hey, I'm wanting to get in the sport. I'm planning on coming to all the nationals, or I'm going to race all the District 6 races, try to hit a couple New England ATVs or whatever your district is, and then hit, your local national and put that out there. And like, I'm going to give it my all. And, I'm excited to work with some companies and try to build that. And that's what you do. Like it's reach out on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. We're so accessible now. There's no reason that you can't contact and get sponsors, these big money deals, all this stuff that everyone dreams of. Like it's kind of a time of the past right now, but we're still helping. And, you're just as important to me as Joel Hetrick is, as any rider. If you're on with my program, like I'm coming to help you, I'm going to come by and check on you, and I'm going to give you every aspect and give you every bit of knowledge I can give you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
that's the key.
Agreed. I think that was a great thing to touch on too. We talked on it way back at the beginning of this conversation, but I think that social media is also so important. Like I feel like building your brand that way, selling yourself that way. That's just a great way for sponsors to be able to say, okay, so John Doe, I'm going to look him up on Instagram, and John Doe posts a bunch about his racing and thanking his sponsors and grateful for what he has and all those things. Doesn't matter if you're a pro rider or a B rider, building that brand and that recognition for who you are and what you're doing, and that you're grateful and what you're all about. And it doesn't even have to be all about racing. It can be about life. Like, I love seeing, posts from bringing it back to Supercross and motocross guys when they post about their life, and you learn a little bit more behind the scenes or behind the mask, inside the helmet. All those things I do think goes a long way. So it's not right in line with the sponsorship thing, but the more that you can build your brand as a racer and an athlete is a big key component to all this as well.
So you must love my post, because I literally post nothing about racing. Like if you look at my profile, you barely tell that I'm involved in racing.
We're at the grill. We're at the grill.
Yeah. We're cooking. Yeah. It's food, fishing, and kids. That's all I got.
I like it.
I throw in some of my old stuff, accomplishments or whatever. But you're 100% right. It's 100% brand building. For years, look at Johnny Gallagher going into the GNCC side. And I think you're probably heading down that road soon to start talking to some of those guys maybe. And, get some history on some of those guys, because some of those guys even race motocross and stuff. So a lot of it'll transfer over. But I mean, Johnny's results aren't always fantastic. They're not bad by any means.
Right.
But he's so marketable. He does such a good job for his sponsors and stuff. yeah, he's killing it. I mean, he's got a good program. He's a solid dude, and you know, I try to help him every corner I can. And we see that. I see that stuff. I pay attention to the guys that are actually tagging us on Instagram and Facebook and making posts. And it doesn't always have to be about one brand. Like, you don't have to make that specialty post. Yeah, that specialty post is nice once or twice a year or whatever. Say for Impact Solutions, it's this easy reference. But excuse me, you can talk about, you know, your Walsh A arms and, you know, your precision stabilizer and your Elka shocks tuned by Impact Solutions. Like, it doesn't have to be just one individual. I see a lot of that, and some of it, you know, I talked to a couple of guys more or less on the side-by-side stuff, and they're like, well, I just feel like Target. Or I just feel like we're Walmart. Like, it's constant trying to just sell a product. Like, it don't have to be like that.
No.
Make it enjoyable. You know, you're making posts over and over again, and it's the same crap over and over again.
Right.
But make it so it's something different and utilize it, and utilize all options that we give you. Like,
exactly.
I'm an open book. Like, throw an idea. I mean, you don't have to throw it. Like, as long as it's positive, I'm going to back you. I'm going to repost it or do whatever I can.
Right. Exactly. I think that's key too, because if you're putting out like these things that look like an ad or a promotion every week, like, people look past them, you know? So it's being real, you know, and just posting about even the races, how things are going. Like, you know, that all, the more you build your brand, people know you're associated with Impact Solutions. It doesn't need to be just about Impact Solutions to be a positive Impact Solutions post. So anyways, yeah, there's a lot of ways to get sponsorship. There's a million ways to do it, but I think that presenting yourself in a professional manner all the time, whether in person, on social media, through a resume, and it's taking it serious. Like, I tell people, you know, you can't just throw an email together and say, hey, like, I want X, X, and X, or I'm looking forward to this. You got to put effort into it. The more effort you put into it, the more impressive, like you're saying, like, you know, resume isn't everything, but to say that, you know, to put together a good resume shows how seriously you're taking this. And I think that's key as well. So,
and I guess I don't say like resume isn't everything. Resume is a big part of it.
Yep.
It was a huge part of it. Like, results aren't everything.
Exactly.
It's more, that's what I really meant. And you kind of enlightened that there. It made me think back, like, oh wow, I said that incorrectly. But I mean, not to beat the social media thing, but like, tag us in your stories or whatever. Like, I enjoy the crap out of reposting people's stories.
Yeah.
One, because it's easy for me.
Right.
And then, but two, like, it's different content, and it's so many people build such sick looking bikes that, like, why would I not want that in my feed constantly? So people see that, like, you know, Neil Larson's a easy point for it. Like, his bikes are insane. Like, they always look so sick, and he does a really good job about, you know, posting, and it's not just individual people, but he's more of like a district racer, races a few nationals, but like, I blow him up. Like, every time he posts, I'm like, hey, look at this. Like, his bike's sick. Like, I enjoy that the most, is doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell people all the time that today in motorsports and power sports marketing, it's not all about results. Just like you said about Johnny Gallagher, he's such a great example. You don't have to be the most marketable, like, just because you know, if you win all the races, I guess, doesn't make you the most marketable guy, you know? So it's everything. It's a whole package. So anyways, there's a million ways to get sponsorship, and there's no reason not to go out there and get it. Doesn't matter what class you're racing or whatever, take it seriously, put together a nice resume. Sometimes it's selling the person. I tell people that too. It's not necessarily, hey, I finished this, and this at the races. Tell that potential sponsor about you. Tell them things you enjoy. Tell them what you're about. Like, you know, talk about school, whatever. Like, I feel like those are good selling points too. You're selling yourself. You're not selling, you know, just the athlete. So I'm glad that we could touch on that. That's awesome stuff. Casey, do you have anything else you want to touch on before we finish up and get out of here?
I think we're good. I appreciate you guys having me on, and, you know, thanks to you and Dallas and Brooke and everyone. And I look forward to doing some more. Maybe we'll, you know, be able to get another show in before Daytona.
Yeah.
But if not, you know, hopefully I can get back on and do the review shows next year with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Next season.
Yeah, we'll definitely, pencil you in for the review show stuff. I think that was so awesome. We'll definitely do like a lead up right before Daytona. We'll do another show, covering more updated stuff than this, but I thought it was the perfect time to go over some of this stuff with fantasy, getting ready, signups ready to open, and just to kind of tie up all the news from the off season. I don't think that everybody necessarily looks at all of our social media posts and whatever. So I figured this is a perfect opportunity to go over everything there. And Casey, I don't know about you, but I'm jacked for this first gate drop. I think now more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. More than excited. I'm excited for the pro class. I'm overly excited for Pro Sport and
Right.
WMX. Like I've been talking about it a bunch, and I catch myself like not talking about the pro class, but then like we sit here and we go through it, and I'm just like, I start boiling. I'm like, oh man, it's going to be so intense. There's so many guys that are just so capable, and I can go on for days about it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So rapid fire. I'm going to put you on the spot before we let you out of here. Give me your Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy lineup for Daytona if you had to put it in today. Now, obviously, some stock goes into qualifying and other stuff like that. But if you had to put it in right now, what would you give me? So tier 1, I'm sure I can pencil in Joel Hetrick there. Your options are Joel Hetrick or Chad Wienen for tier 1.
Well, see, I got to come up with 3 teams though, and you're making me do this really quick. So
well, right
fair.
now we're going only one team. So we're going. So Joel Hetrick will be your tier 1 rider. You take him every time.
So what is it? Joel, Chad, and Bryce is tier 1.
Just Joel and
those
Chad.
are the only 2, and then it's
Joel
Bryce, Jeffrey.
So
Max.
then the next one is the tier 2 is Bryce, Jeffrey, Genusa, Hoag, Lindquist. This is not rapid fire.
No, I'm not. Like, you know how long it takes me
I know,
to make my picks? That's
Hey,
why
me
I
too.
miss it.
I
every week.
think about it all week leading up,
Can I? I'm not even going to play this year. I can't.
You have to play. You have to. Okay, fine. I won't put you on the spot. So maybe I'll pick
Joel, Chad, Jeffrey.
Okay, yeah, that team doesn't work because you have 2 tier 1 riders and a tier 2 rider. But
Joel, Jeffrey, Logan.
Okay. What about tier 4?
Patrick.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good pick. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I had one guy reach out to me in the last day or two wondering how he would do. Can you guess who that is?
How he would do, like where he would stack up?
Where he would stack up.
In
pro class.
Fantasy or in real life?
Well, I mean, both. I told him I'd consider putting him on my fantasy team.
Oh, one guy reach out. No idea.
Probably mulls this over every year.
Oh,
Joe Bird.
yeah. Moses. I heard that rumor the other day that he was coming back.
He texted me the other day. He said, "What do you think about me racing Daytona? I'm bored." And I'm like, "Well, you'd be a tempting Digging Deep ATVMX fantasy pick." He said, "How would I do?" I said, "Well, I think you could be a top 10 rider, And he said his goals are top 5 though, if he comes out of retirement to race this race. Well, I guess he's not retired, but so who knows if we'll see him. So I actually confirmed earlier today. I said, "Well, can I talk about this on the podcast?" And he said, "Yep." He said, "Yep, you can." So we'll see. Maybe this is an extra nudge.
The 2 hard-hittest guys out there.
John Natale. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
John's like, "I want to come back and race." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it'd be cool. Come race 25 plus." No. There's not a chance. I'm racing pro class. I'm like, oh my gosh. Joe the same way. Like, Joe, you can come back and race 25 plus. No, I'm racing pro class. Bring it, boys. Like, you guys keep talking about it, then do it. I'll call them both out. I think we had a friendly wager last year, Joe and I, about him running, and I think John even chimed in on it. So I'll call you guys out. I'm in. Just come down and race Daytona. John's won Daytona.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
Joe's never won Daytona, so. John's got you one there.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Maybe we will just see the number 7 or the number 13 show up. We'll see. But he's at least thinking about it because he said I could talk about it. So we'll see.
I heard that yesterday.
I heard it
literally yesterday or the day before, but I didn't hear it from him.
Okay. He texted me about it in the last couple of days, and I confirmed that I could talk about it here. So that will be another guy to watch for, but great stuff there. Sign up today for ATV Fantasy. It's going to be a blast. Join us in all the fun for this upcoming season. But Casey, that's a wrap. You're the man. Can't thank you enough for this. You sat here, gave us all this time to talk ATV motocross. I appreciate it so much. You bring so much to these shows. I told you last season as well. I can't thank you enough for this. You bring so much to Digging Deep. I appreciate it so much. And man, I love that we're doing this for the sport, this coverage for the sport, not even just the pros, but some of the ladies stuff, the WMX stuff, the up and coming kids of the pro sport classes. Man, it's awesome. I take a lot of pride in this, so I appreciate you being here for it.
Thanks for having me as always, Cody. And anytime, I mean, I always try to set back. We always say we're going to set back an hour, and it's usually about 2 hours. So I like to talk. So no, thank you to the whole team. Your whole team is awesome, and keep doing it. We're doing it, and I hear good stuff all the time.
Yeah, I truly didn't think this was going to take 2 hours. I really thought it was going to be about an hour, but because I'm like, well, man, how much can we talk about in the off season? But we covered it all, and I love it. So another thing that we want to do, I won't ask this of you, Casey, but I think I'm going to try to do, because our reception was so good to it last year. The numbers proved it. I want to do some more pre-race shows. Like I said, the reception was amazing. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of that, even if they're just short, kind of tie some stuff up going into the weekend, give some people some stuff to listen to on the way to the races. So keep an eye out for that. But again, Casey, you're the man. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for everything you do for us. Thanks for being here, and we'll talk soon. Can't freaking wait for Daytona.
Thanks, Cody.
Awesome, Casey. Thanks so much. Man, I am fired up to go racing after that one. I have to thank Manscaped for getting Casey Greek back in here to join us tonight. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com, and send us a screenshot of that order using our code for some free Digging Deep merch, but for a limited time only, so act fast. Major thanks to Casey Greek himself for joining us for this one. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to all of our donors. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much. Thanks to all of our partners. CST Tires, shop.csttires.com. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Integrated Financial Concepts and their Safe to Race and Safe to Ride insurance programs, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support all the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click those Rocky Mountain ATVMC and Amazon banners for all your gear and parts needs, everyday needs, and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including Digging Deep shirts and hoodies, our Quad Guys Get Hot Chicks shirts and hoodies, back-to-back national champ merch, and more, are all available today at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution like Justin Branham to support our efforts. I would love for you guys to send in your questions, stories, and topics. I know many of you have suggested giving you guys the opportunity to call into the show live, which isn't really an option at this point, but this is your opportunity to call us. We'll play your audio on the show, and then we'll answer and react to what you have to say. So don't hesitate to call in, and we will play your voice right here on the show with us. That number is 920-569-3519. So give us a call. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Janssen, for additional content, coverage, and some more fun as the 2022 season inches closer and closer. As for the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, our show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Sign up for ATV Fantasy is now open. Get in on all the prizes, the bragging rights, and all the fun in 2022. Here's a little teaser for you. Winner of Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy at Daytona is going to get a brand new pair of riding gear. So head over to atvfantasy.com to sign up now. You don't want to miss out, I can promise you that. Be a friend, tell a friend, please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Casey Greek, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Janssen, and I'm your host, Cody Janssen. Thanks for listening and making us the #1 podcast in ATV racing with over 130,000 downloads monthly in 80 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us and digging deep with the stars of ATV Motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.